Matt Bell. He is co-founder of Nomic. I can say that he is a true expert in his field. Please welcome Matt.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for being here. I'm here to share some updates about Nomic, and Nomic is the Bitcoin bridge for Cosmos. I think we got some slides here. I never got a clicker, actually. Do we have the clicker for the slides? Cool, thank you. Let's see if I can figure this out. Cool. So I'm Matt. I'm from Turbofish, and we're the founders of and core contributors to Nomic, which is the Bitcoin bridge for Cosmos. Bitcoin has actually always been a part of the Cosmos vision. So the original Cosmos white paper from 2016, there's like a whole section in there for describing bridging for Bitcoin, for Ethereum. And it's always been the Cosmos narrative to be this internet of blockchains. And so IBC is a real thing now. Most of the things in the original white paper of Cosmos has come true. And that's all stuff that we use and love today. But Bitcoin hasn't become part of the interchain yet. And there's so much value in Bitcoin. I think so many of us, got into crypto because of Bitcoin. It's obviously the most widely known cryptocurrency in the world. And all that, essentially $500 billion worth of Bitcoin, is mostly just sitting in wallets, not being used. Whereas on the other side, ecosystems like Cosmos, there's so much tech being worked on and so many cool DeFi primitives and things. And so obviously it's just a natural meshing of the value and the tech. And now these things are coming together with Nomic. So Nomic is a protocol that lets anyone permissionlessly turn Bitcoin into a Cosmos native asset called NBTC. And if you hold NBTC, you're not holding a synthetic or some custodial wrapped token or something like that. Your Bitcoin stays Bitcoin. It just becomes Cosmos native. So while we've worked on the design for Nomic, we've made security the #1 priority. And we've got some really innovative security features that I haven't seen in other bridge designs, and so I'm going to share some of those. So one property to talk about is that Nomic is a fully verifying bridge. So if you think about IBC, that is fully verifying as well. So chain A verifies chain B verifies chain A. There doesn't have to be a middleman or anything. We can just have, one chain actually verify proofs of data from the other chain. And that's a really solid model. But so many bridges in all of crypto sort of take a shortcut, and they'll trust their own validator set to report on the state of the foreign chain. And that's just an extra layer of risk in between. But with Nomic, the Nomic protocol actually verifies Bitcoin. It has a client of Bitcoin, verifies all the Bitcoin headers and proof of work, and it can see any transaction happening on Bitcoin through Merkle proofs, and that just makes it so much more solid than if we took the easy way out. There's another cool part of Nomic called the emergency dispersal, and so just imagine you have Bitcoin, you've put it through the bridge, you're using it in Cosmos somewhere, and you hold NBTC, and imagine the validators of Nomic just all pulled the plug on their machines, and the network just ceases to exist. Everything's down. What would happen? Is your Bitcoin just going to be stuck? Well, with the emergency dispersal, all that Bitcoin that you hold as NBTC, it'll just automatically go back to your Bitcoin wallet on the Bitcoin blockchain without any actions from you. So, if other bridges go down, your funds might be stuck in limbo, you can't access it. With Nomic, you can rest assured that that can't happen. Your Bitcoin will come back to you if there's an issue. And just because this mechanism exists, it actually makes our security properties much better. So only 10% of the Nomic voting power has to be honest for the bridge to operate as expected. And that really outperforms other bridge designs in that regard. There's another really key part of Nomic security, and that's its use of circuit breakers. So you might have heard this being called rate limiting in other protocols. This is something that I think is really important, and I believe will become a standard across DeFi and bridges. If you think about all the DeFi protocols and bridges that have had incidents in the past, if they'd had a simple mechanism that could just see if all the funds were leaving at the same time, like that's not a case that should normally happen, right? So if you just put something in place to in the protocol to watch for all the funds leaving at once, and instead, add a delay and give the network time to react and check what's going on, so many of the DeFi hacks and incidents in the past could have been stopped. And so Nomic already makes use of this. And I think, going into the future, this will just be how everyone does it. So there's also another really key part of security that often goes overlooked, and that's on the client side. So what you see on the left here, this is essentially how everything in Ethereum works, and it's sort of the status quo in Cosmos as well, where on that side we have our set of users, and then we have this nice decentralized blockchain, but in the middle, all the data is just accessed through central trusted REST servers. Pretty much every wallet and app, that's just the way it works right now. And that's not very resilient. That's not really the way to do it in crypto. And it doesn't have to be that way. Tendermint consensus, well now Comet BFT consensus, but back when it was called Tendermint, it was originally designed to be really compatible with light clients so that users could actually get their data directly from the blockchain rather than some trusted middleman. And it looks like this. And so we're working on that in Nomic, and we'll be releasing a library to make this available to other Cosmos chains. This should be able to work for anything in Cosmos, and so I hope to see this become standard as well. Another part of security to note is Nomic makes use of Bitcoin's strong proof of work security. So Nomic is timestamped on Bitcoin, and just as a cool bonus, any chain that opens an IBC channel with Nomic is also automatically timestamped on Bitcoin without paying any fees or using any modules or anything like that. So it's just kind of cool. Nomic is built on Orga. So this isn't the SDK. It's a custom stack that we at Turbofish have built from the ground up in Rust. It's really easy to build on. We've focused on making it really easy to use and build on based on our lessons in building Lotion.js before this. And we've also focused really hard on making it really high performance to compete with all those chains out there that are really known for their performance, like Solana and Aptos. We're trying to bring that to the Cosmos world. So you can think of Orga as an alternative to the SDK, and just a key difference, though, is since it's in Rust, we make heavy use of Rust's procedural macros, and that means you can just get a lot done with a lot less code. And so this is a comparison of the amount of code in the staking module of the SDK and the one in Orga. The one in Orga is 10 times less code with almost essentially being the same features. And that's a big difference. That's even excluding generated code to make it a fair comparison. And if you think about it, less code, that means less bugs, that means faster development cycles with less developers just because it's less work to get features done. And it also means it's easier to optimize performance. It's just, it's a huge difference. And speaking of performance, this is one part of the system. This is the Merkle trees. So we have IAVL, that's the tree used in the Cosmos SDK. We have Jellyfish Merkle, which is used in Aptos and some other chains. And then we have Merk, which is what we've built at Turbofish for Orga. And you can see in this test of just updates per second with a 1 million node tree. So in other words, that's the database of the blockchain. This is just how fast we can change the data in it. Merk performs significantly better. And this is just one example. Like, obviously, it's a huge system. There are many components to it, but we're working on optimizing all of them. And we haven't only thought about security and engineering, but we've also put a lot of thought into making Nomic really easy to use. So if you think about today, if you want to put Bitcoin on an exchange, centralized exchanges are so easy compared to decentralized exchanges. Like the UX, you get a QR code and a Bitcoin address, you send to it, it's one step, it'll just be in your balance, you can do whatever you want with it. And so, centralized exchanges have such a large market share, I think it's because they're so easy to use. But Nomic is bringing this easy UX to the decentralized world. And that's with our feature, interchain deposits. So this essentially will let any Cosmos chain put a Bitcoin deposit address in their UI, and if you have Bitcoin, you can send to it, and it'll show up in your account on that chain. We're also, if you saw the Osmosis 2.0 talk this morning, they were mentioning the possibility of Nomic Bitcoin becoming part of that, and I'm excited to share that this is becoming a reality. This is what it's going to look like. So you can just go to Osmosis, you can just hit deposit, you'll be shown a Bitcoin deposit address. This is very familiar on a centralized exchange. It's so easy to use. But with decentralized exchanges, there's so many more steps. But with Nomic, you can just come to Osmosis, send to that Bitcoin address. Behind the scenes, it commits to a special Bitcoin script that secures the Bitcoin in the bridge by the Nomic validator set. And then it automatically forwards the NBTC over IBC to Osmosis in your account. And so compare that to the current way. If you had Bitcoin and you were trying to move it to Osmosis, you would have to first send from your wallet to a centralized exchange, trade it for some other asset, go through these multiple steps to end up with an asset on Osmosis that's not really Bitcoin, it's just giving you price exposure to Bitcoin. With Nomic, it's easier and your Bitcoin stays Bitcoin. Of course, it works the other way too. You can withdraw, you just put in a Bitcoin address and an amount, hit the button, and it'll show up on Bitcoin. We've made a JavaScript library, so any Cosmos chain can just sort of drop this into their front end, and it's really easy to just generate deposit addresses, show them to your users, and they can move Bitcoin onto your chain that easily. We also have a workshop tomorrow from 10 a.m. to noon, and we'll show you how to do this. Feel free to drop by anytime. So all of this is going to be available this month. I'm really excited because, we've put so much thought into this and we've been waiting for this moment for so long, but Nomic is here. So October 27th, we're releasing the code. That means it should be activated on the network with these features ready to use on October 30th. We're also really excited to share that we have partners who are already integrating interchain deposits. We showed Osmosis, but we're also really excited about Kujira and all the really cool things you'll be able to do with NBTC on Kujira, like minting the USK stablecoin, using Bitcoin as collateral. I think that's really exciting, and so many other things. And Levana is really exciting. You'll be able to trade with leverage with real Bitcoin. We'll be onboarding all these other chains, but this is an exciting moment, and Bitcoin really is coming to Cosmos now. Yeah. Thank you. So I hope you should follow our Twitter. That's not on here, but it's @NomicBTC. To watch for updates. We've got other cool things in the works like a Dogecoin bridge and an Ordinals bridge. And I also want to give a shout out to the Nomic community. Nomic has a really awesome community. And I encourage you to join the Discord or the Telegram. And I hope to see you there. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt, for this great presentation. How is the